Vikings with an absolutely wild second day of the tampering period. Let's talk about it. What is going on? Thank you guys so much for joining us on this emergency surprise Tuesday evening podcast live stream. It's been a while. Might have been forever since we've done one of these. I think we did a couple after some Monday night games. But anyway, it's been a long time since we've done one of these. And not even, it's about 24 hours ago, Vikings Twitter, people all over YouTube, everybody was at Kwesi's throat, ready to find the tree to put him in and just be done with him, fire, and move on to a new GM. And all it took was a little bit of patience and about another 12 to 14 hours. And then Twitter boomed and everybody realizes, it really seems like this GM we have when it comes to free agency and the playing the long game, the patient game, seems like he really knows what he's doing. Seems like there was a plan in place this whole time. And Vikings fans are ecstatic. The feelings around Kwesi have changed. A lot of extend this man immediately, something that you and I have been saying, honestly, since last season, since we saw how well the free agency worked then. And man, everything that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell had said since the season ended that they were going to do, they have done. And I don't know how you can sit here and look at what they've done, honestly, in the past, not even just the past 2 days since the legal tampering period started yesterday, but honestly, just today. I mean, sure, they made a couple really nice signings yesterday, but what they've done today, I don't know how you can sit here and not be like, damn, Kwesi knows how to work free agency, man. He really, really does. It took a little bit of patience, but we got here, and it's cause for a celebratory Tuesday night.
Let's get it. Yeah. I don't really know what to expect from this live stream. Obviously, we don't usually just pop up in here. But I'll do a couple shout outs. We got our guy Gary in the building who looks pumped right now. I'm very impressed. My dude, again, happy birthday. Hope you went hard, man. I hope you went hard. Most people say you hope not too hard. I say I hope you went hard. And Bob Sweet in the building as well. Hey, Gary, you survived your birthday. Obviously, it's still a show. I don't care how many people's in here. So we'll still be giving away a card. So definitely get them hashtag Skols in the comments, all those good things. We got Steve in the building as well. Great podcast for some Packers talk.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy to talk about
how they overpaid for their interior offensive linemen. Where
right,
I don't know, and I get it. I do think with the Will Fries contract, I do think the broken tibia factored into it. I mean, obviously top guard on the market. I do think a lot of guys are going to be a little bit hesitant to sign him with that injury. So I do think that has something to do with the longer contract, 5 years. And $88 million. And I do think that had a little bit to do with it, but man, that just feels like a really, really good contract for a guy that a lot of people consider to be the top guard coming off the board.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, most people had him as a top guard outside of Trey Smith, who technically wasn't a free agent by the time this all started. But no, back to Kwesi, because that's the one thing about it. And this is something that we have been talking about, me and you. And obviously we could have been wrong. I would say in this one, we were not. As far as Kwesi, obviously a lot of the fan base were ready to fire him. I thought me and you were like, hey, he has a good plan. First off, you had 14 wins. So I was like, he has 14 wins. And it was like, hey, he has a good plan. And then everyone's just like stuck on the idea he hasn't been good at drafting and things like that. Oh, and one thing I want to say about that, one thing we can say since last draft and this free agency that you got to love about Kwesi is when he wants to go get something, he's shown since last draft that he will go grab it. We've seen it with J.J. McCarthy. We've seen it with Dallas Turner. Now we've seen it with these big time free agent signings that we all just witnessed here. But this is something that we told people, we believed in Kwesi's plan we really were able to pay attention to since last year with everything with Kirk Cousins. That's when everything started coming out that he loves the idea of having a rookie, building around a rookie on a rookie on a quarterback contract, quarterback on a rookie contract. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it was around the Kirk Cousins time last offseason when those started coming out or whatever. And we started being able to kind of see what he wanted to do. And at the same time, we noticed that he was putting us in a better cap situation every year moving forward. And that is exactly what we did going in this offseason. So it's like, wait, you guys want to move away from his plan right on the year when it was finally about to come to fruition. He's got us out of cap hell with at least $60 million going in free agency, and we're coming off a 14 win. Well, now we've seen what he's been able to do in free agency when he doesn't have the cap space, and this is what it looks like when he does, coming in slow in the beginning last year. Now that Isaiah Rodgers deal seems like super sweet, now it just feels like a I don't know, kind of like a cherry on top. I mean, man, there's a lot of bonus plays here. That, and yesterday was just like, here's some players that you didn't even think we were gonna go after in Isaiah Rodgers and in Ryan Kelly, and then boom, this morning it was like everybody was talking about it. Now get Fries, now get Jonathan Allen. Even though everybody talks about it, it usually never comes and works that way. But then right after that, I was good. I'm like, hey, you got Ryan, and then obviously Byron Murphy last night, which obviously we were on here before that happens. But then you go and make sure you get Byron Murphy. So on top of all that, we left this podcast like, oh, we got Ryan Kelly, like, you know, that is a big plus, and there's still available players. But to leave that, get Byron Murphy, get or extend Byron Murphy, get Jonathan Allen, and then get Will Fries. Like, that was already like you do that, and I was like, that's a more impressive free agency than I even was expecting out of us. And then you get Hargrave on top of that, and now we know what they've done with a lot of these contracts, and there's not a lot of money salary cap going into this year, and we still have a bunch more. It's like,
yeah,
there's more moves to come probably.
Right. And I was watching a little bit of Isaiah Rodgers before we hopped on here. I think that's going to be a really, really underrated signing. Like, he looks really, really good. And I mean, and he wasn't even a full-time starter with Philadelphia last year, so I think that's really exciting there. But
yeah, and he has he's at the very least, you're gonna get like a very solid player. I mean, he's been more than solid technically throughout. I think he's like top 5 in completion percentage or something like that for cornerbacks.
And I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday on here, but I know I texted you after, so you can attest to me saying this, right? How I thought it was odd that Byron Murphy and Will Fries had not signed anywhere yet. So I still hold to this. I think these agreements were the handshake agreements were in place last night, and the big domino to fall was, how does the Byron Murphy contract shake out? And after that contract was finalized, I honestly think that then they went to work on structuring these the deals for Will Fries as well as Jonathan Allen. So I honestly think all of these deals were in place last night, but they just needed to take the evening and take this morning and get the money figured out, because there's no other reason why those contracts happened. A, with Murphy late last night, and B, with Jonathan Allen and Will Fries as early as it did this morning. So I really do feel like these plans, these agreements were in place last night. None of the news had broke just because Brzezinski, which, by the way, Brzezinski's an absolute god, man. I mean, behind the scenes, he doesn't get, I mean, outside of the Vikings realm, you know, with obviously people know about the GMs and whatnot, outside of the Vikings realm, he doesn't get a lot of respect. But the work that guy does to just make all the dollars work, absolute freaking genius. Hope that guy's getting paid really, really well, which I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is.
But anyway, like, but I really do just feel like this entire thing was all, I mean, it's just all these deals were being worked out throughout the day yesterday, because there's no other reason that guys of Byron Murphy and Will Fries caliber, and so many teams are going after him, aren't signed earlier on in the day. So I think all of this stuff was worked out during the day. I think there were agreements that it all was going to happen. And Kwesi did it, man. And the people that yesterday were bitching and moaning about, oh, Kwesi does it, we have all this cap space, now he's not spending it. Well, he is now. And sure, a lot of these contracts look big, right?
Definitely is.
For a guy in Jonathan Allen, who is 30 years old, coming off soft tissue injury, did come back. I believe came back for the playoffs against the Lions, looked really, really good that game. But this is a guy who's incredibly solid. And when you really look at the deal and how the money's all laid out, I mean, you see the sticker shock, the 3 years, $60 million, $20 million a year kind of scares you. But then you look at how I think 51 of it is actually like a base salary, or like the deal is actually worth $51 million with $9 million worth of incentives. Plus, when you look at how the money is structured, I think it sounds like there's a pretty easy out after next year. Or after this upcoming season, if we want it. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like these guys we're signing, yes, they may be older, but they're structuring these contracts in ways to where it's safe for the team, but also there's money to play for the players, and they're probably going to keep them around if they continue to play well and stay healthy. So are you taking some risks with, honestly, you had Hargrave, who missed a lot of time last year, injured. You have Allen, who missed a lot of time. Will Fries missed a lot of the season last year. And then Ryan Kelly has missed some games as well. But if these guys all come back this year and they stay healthy, and that's what you're really betting on here, then these signings are absolute no-brainers, home runs. And as you and I talked about a lot this season, that we wanted to go into next year thinking the only worry we have is JJ McCarthy going to be that guy? And look, there's still moves to be made. There's still money to spend in free agency, and there's still the entire draft coming up, which now the draft, with what you've done so far in free agency, the draft is wide open. You can do literally whatever you want. You don't need to pick a certain position. You can just pick best player available, like T-Bass mentioned earlier, make some trade backs. Every single option is out there for you in the draft. So there's still a lot of work to be done. But right now, I feel very, very solid at every single position on this team. And I feel very ecstatic about how the interior of these lines look. And as I mentioned, there's still the draft where defensive tackle and running back are at a premium. You're going to be able to get somebody. I don't know, man. The job that Kwesi has done, once you realize you needed to be patient, just wait for things to play out, not overpaying for top tier guys, and still getting the guys that you wanted and people were talking about. Kwesi played this absolutely perfectly. Absolutely perfect. And I feel this team is exactly what we wanted. And now
it's more than what we wanted.
That's really what it all comes down to right now.
It's literally more than what we wanted. I didn't think we were going to leave this free agency with any sort of defensive interior guys that we could count on. And a lot of that had to do with Jonathan Allen. First off, Jonathan Allen and Hargrave weren't even available when we started looking into free agency and stuff. And then the fact that they became available right away, Allen, we're all right, we need to go after him. And that's one thing I want to say about this, because even with the draft, these are win now moves. This, you can, and I mentioned this earlier, building a team around a quarterback on a rookie contract is very, very apparent to me now. That's exactly what we're doing. So because it may everybody that's saying hey, you're getting these aged players and things like that, it's because we are trying to take advantage of the next 3 years. And that's why, because I was looking at some of the stuff, even going into this draft, you kind of want to start looking in this draft. I think definitely still going at getting guys that you can think that you believe can take over soon or make an impact on the next 3 years. And kind of focus on the next 3 years, and then obviously get young talent that you can have around this team when those 3 years are up, and JJ McCarthy's hopefully the guy, and you have to pay him or whatever. But that's the reason why I think you're seeing some of these older guys, especially on the D line, and you're just bringing as many people you can in here, which it even brings me who knows, I know we're talking about what other free agents are still available. There's still guards available at this point. If you were to get a Zeitler or a Sheriff or Brandon Sheriff or something like that, one of those old guys to take over that other guard spot, that would be perfect. But man, it's just, I don't know. It's unbelievable. I was not going into this thinking that we were going to get the center figured out for sure. And I mentioned this yesterday, and that was the big thing on Ryan Kelly. That's something that we talked about, is a lot of fans kind of just dealt with the fact that we're probably going in with Garrett Bradbury this year, and then that we need to at least figure out the right guard spot and hopefully the left guard spot. And now we're sitting here with those solidified. And obviously you still have that left guard spot. At this point, you're just believing as Brandel, but anything can happen there. And then on that other side of the ball, it's just, for other side of the line, man, it blows my mind that we got, I wasn't thinking we are going to get anybody there. I was cornerback, offensive line, figure out, get a defensive interior in the first round in the draft. And now we're sitting here with Jonathan Allen, Hargrave, and Phillips in the middle. And now having them three, and then you're sitting here with LDR, Tamani, and Redmond, just feel you're feeling like your defensive line is deep. Yeah, you have a couple old guys, but you have some young guys with potential behind them that we can feel great about as far as rotating on that defensive line. And same with the outside linebacker. The whole line is just completely revamped. Both lines are just ready to go. Our two biggest weaknesses are already good. We're 2 days into free agency, and we're set on those. Yeah. And yeah,
And
It's just
obviously
it's crazy.
Yeah, and
It's
obviously
crazy.
Hargrave can't be official till tomorrow once he's cut from the 49ers.
Right.
But
Right.
PFF everywhere basically has it solidified that he is going to be coming here. Sounds like that agreement is
I mean, if
already
he, there's still a chance he doesn't. But
and then
I mean, I think there is. I don't know.
Right, we have money. Yes, we love Jalen. We're okay with Jalen Naylor, but look, I don't know if he necessarily brings something that this offense doesn't have, because I do think that this offense is missing a true downfield threat as it comes to receiver. But if someone's going to tell me that we're going to be going Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and bringing in Cooper Kupp, I'll take that any day of the week. So if they can find a way to bring in Cooper Kupp on a relatively good contract, him and Kevin O'Connell do have that history, I'd be cool with it. We'll see what happens there. I mean, obviously, it sounds like he will be cut tomorrow. I would love if that happened. Not saying I'm expecting it, but it really does feel like Kwesi is still gearing up for one more move. I mean, when you look at how these cap hits are structured, I don't think we've seen Will Fry's or obviously haven't seen Hargraves' contract yet either. But once you kind of see how those are structured, I don't know, man. I mean, there could still be another big move to be made, or just a couple other roster filler type moves where you get some of these second, third tier free agents. Maybe, like you said, maybe one of the older guards. I don't really know. Remains to be seen. But I mean, you can't sit here and tell me Kwesi hasn't done well this free agency period. If you're telling me that, you are a Kwesi hater and a liar. That's all.
I mean, there was a dopamine. I mean, talk about a dopamine rush for like a 9 a.m. Eastern time, like 8 a.m., like right away. Like I couldn't believe it. I think I was looking. Literally, I was looking at Twitter as soon as the Jonathan Allen stuff came out immediately. And I was like, and we're going to get into the contracts and stuff, which I was like, yeah, great. Jonathan Allen, $20 million a year. Obviously things have changed in those areas, and we'll get into that in a bit here. But I was like, ooh, that is a kind of a lot for this aging defensive interior. But at this point, like the reality is you just got to, like, Kwesi did the best he could. Cause I think actually T-Bass texted me, and he's just like, hey, how do you guys feel about these guys and things like that? And I'm like, pretty much that Kwesi, like, who knows, like, because T-Bass is saying that, you know, he usually wants to see him on the field before he makes any decisions, which obviously makes sense and is perfectly fair. But it's like in this year's free agency, like, you did it the best you could with what was available to you, and Kwesi pulled the trigger on that. So you have to be happy for sure if you're worried about the offensive line that you get the number one guard in free agency, and then you get two guys who at the very least have been two of the best at their position, specifically in the pass rush, something that has been a massive issue for us in the past handful of years. Even if they're older, man, at this point, like, at least one of them needs to work out, I guess. So I don't know. That part is just exciting. And other free agents going into this, and so far we know, like you were talking about, we know between Byron Murphy, Jonathan Allen, pretty much everybody besides Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, and we don't know what we're getting out of Hargraves yet. We're sitting at like 23 million spent in cap or something, which is stupid. Obviously that money has to go somewhere down the road, whatever. We'll figure that out later. So it just seems like the Vikings still have a big move in play here. And I don't know, obviously I know people are concerned about the safety. I do feel like Theo Jackson right now is probably the favorite for that spot so far. If you pay attention to see what we did with Brando last year, we gave him a contract that was higher than he probably is worth, but based on potential, he ends up starting. I feel like it's the same thing with Theo Jackson there as well. And then, like you said, with Cooper Kupp on free agency, I would love to go get him. Obviously the whole KOC thing, we can probably get into some of the Sauce Gardner talk later. But yeah, what were you going to say?
And something I did notice where, again, a lot of big money, but a lot of these contracts from what we're hearing are pretty low guaranteed money. And with the way it is, there are potential outs, you know, before those full 3 years come to fruition with the big money. But something else that you notice here is outside of Will Fries, who is, I think, look, if you're going to have if you're drafting JJ McCarthy to be your quarterback for the next 10, 15 years, why not give a young 26-year-old guard who was one of the better guards in football until he broke his leg? But why would you not give a guy like Will Fries that big of a 5-year contract, and you're giving all the rest from 3-year contracts? But a lot of these guys, the aging players as well as Byron Murphy, giving them 3-year deals.
What do you think, T-Bass?
It is interesting that those line up with the end of JJ McCarthy's rookie contract. That is something I did notice with a lot of these. Like, a lot of the deals are 2 to 3 year deals. So it really does feel like this is one of those things where you are swinging for the fences. And if something doesn't go right, JJ McCarthy is your guy, but the team just isn't quite right. You don't need to extend Byron Murphy again. You can let John. I mean, at that point, Jonathan Allen's probably going to be gone anyway. He's going to be 30, pushing 33 years old. But a lot of these deals are aligning with the end of the window, that 3 years that you have on JJ McCarthy's rookie contract. So look, and it would be totally different if Kwesi came into this team and we had a couple seasons where we won like 6 games, maybe an 8-game win, maybe make the playoffs with 10 wins one year and lose right away or whatever. And then maybe you can build this team differently. But obviously they came here with a team that had Justin Jefferson, that was ready to win now, and has won, has had at least 2 seasons with 13 wins. So he came in, and when you come into this team and you have that type of success,
what up, Riley?
You're able to just swing for the fences and go all in and try to win now. It would be totally different if what happened this first 3 years didn't happen. But the way he's playing this is he knows I have a team that if I supplement it with the right pieces, we're going to be able to win right now. And that's exactly how he's played free agency up to this point. And that's it. This really does feel like this free agency for sure. Last year, they saw their weaknesses, kept Brian Flores, kept a lot of the coaching staff. This is just one of those years where you can tell Kwesi's like, all right, fine. We have the money. We know we have our quarterback. Let's take some swings. Let's try to win a freaking Super Bowl. NFC North has made some big moves. Going to be incredibly competitive. Can next season get here yet? I mean, we might not want to be there yet because there's still more free agency. There's still the draft and everything. But
I know, dude, it's a good sign that you're 2 days in free agency and every fan is excited about next season. Yeah, and I've seen even the comments. I know some of the personalities in here and just Twitter, knowing some of the personalities and kind of seeing everybody excited about what has happened in the last 24, 48 hours or whatever.
And as of yesterday, betting odds were Vikings 4th to win the division. Hammer that, man. Hammer it. Because I don't sleep on JJ. I don't know if we're going to win the division, but it's going to be wide open. I mean, every team got better this offseason, but I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty good about everything that the Vikings did.
Me too, and it's not this drink right now. No, maybe a little bit. No, man, it's celebrating. That was huge. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. It was, I don't know, the going from like kind of underwhelming, like just how everything worked out all day, first day, underwhelming, fans, burn Kwesi, like get the pitchforks, whatever. I mean, I'm team Kwesi all the way. I am down with his plan and everything like that. But all day yesterday, it was, even for me, it was still like, oh man, you got all this money. We got to make some moves here. Like it's important, especially the offensive line. I was like, you have to figure out the offensive line in free agency. There's just you're not going to pull it off in the draft. You have to do that here. So I was kind of disappointed. And then as soon as we get on, man, just to see Ryan Kelly right before we got on, which was like, and I mentioned it on here. I think I mentioned it earlier already, where it was just like, I wasn't expecting a center. And I felt confident there's enough guards out here where I felt confident we'd get at least one of these guards. So I felt confident we were going to figure out that offensive line. So that was like the big thing about the Ryan Kelly thing. But then we get off Byron Murphy about the same time we signed him the first time, about 9 p.m., which was interesting. And then just to wake up and it's like, boom, 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 boom. Oh, there goes like everybody's opinion on everything going on just completely changes just like that. To the point now it's just like, I don't know. We've got, and I know Delton keeps mentioning it. It feels like we got a Super Bowl team. Like it's like that thing. I mean, people say you can't do it through free agency, but Kwesi has figured it out. He needs to figure out his drafting 100%. We'd be in a better spot if he did that. But Kwesi has been able to figure out how to build a team around free agency, which is something, I guess. But hey, we got Vocal Vike in the building. By the way, I know my guy is going live right after this show, so y'all definitely got to go pop into that directly after this. But yeah, no. So it's just exciting. And then to think that we've moved the salary cap, I don't know how to feel. This is like one of the things about Kwesi. We talk about being patient. We talk about all those things, delayed gratification and things like that. But you're in free agency. You make all those moves. You see all the salary caps getting pushed away a little bit. You have more more room to go make moves. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that might not be the long-term play, but it definitely gets you excited that we're going to make some other big moves. Hopefully it's not all setting up for the Vikings to go get Aaron Rodgers, who
don't
sounds like
even say his name. Don't even say his name
who
around here.
sounds like there's a good chance he ends up with the Giants, but that's the talk around right now.
But this is such an Aaron Rodgers thing, right? Let everyone else sign all these other players and sit there and eventually let all the other quarterbacks sign and sit there and eventually make the entire NFL media cycle all about you. Like that is 100% what Aaron Rodgers has done his entire career, and it's definitely what he's doing now. He should have picked a team by now. I know there was that report from Dan Graziano earlier that he's holding out hope that the Vikings will show some interest, which it really doesn't seem like they're going to at this point. But just a classic Aaron Rodgers thing, trying to just make it all about himself, try to be the last quarterback unsigned. I mean, if I'm the Giants and the Steelers, I'm making other moves at this point because that's just, I mean, I get it. Especially for the Steelers because they're always in no man's land as it comes to the draft with quarterbacks. But Aaron Rodgers doing this to me would royally just piss me off. And it's just such classic Aaron Rodgers. And that's part of the reason why I just don't want him on this team. I just don't like the attitude. I don't think it would mesh well with what we have. He's not going to come in here and be a mentor. Like it's just,
if he did though,
no sense in any way.
I said this on one of our shorts, like if he went and did his like annual ayahuasca trip and he came back and was like, know what, it's time for me to like pass the torch and be just the perfect mentor. That would pay a lot of dividends for JJ McCarthy for sure. Cause that guy, out of anybody out there, there's no question that he has the mentality to win. He has the Super Bowl. He's been one of the better, as much as I don't like to say it, he's literally been one of the best quarterbacks in our lifetime for sure. But I'm with you overall. I'm ready for JJ McCarthy. I don't want to pay more money to a quarterback. We've seen one thing that's came up. That's why I don't think it's not even going to happen. Obviously, maybe it would make sense to bring Sam Darnold back at the point. I'm not sure how much Rodgers would cost. I'm assuming it would cost you probably at least $20 million. That's my guess. At least $20 million for 1 year is what we see Rodgers get here. I'd rather continue spending that somewhere else. I know JJ McCarthy is a big question mark, but a lot of us really like him and what he can be. So we'll see there. And again, everybody, obviously, any show, doesn't matter if it's a random one or not, we'll do a giveaway. Your choice, your pick. We got the future franchise quarterback of the Vikings right here, JJ McCarthy. So get them hashtag Skols in the comments, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't to your chance to win one of these cards at the end of the show. So get them hashtag Skols in the comments. Overall, I'm expecting JJ McCarthy to take over here, and it'll be interesting to see what we do as a backup quarterback. I still like the idea of getting Minshew or Winston or any of them. I don't really care. I'm not rolling into the season with Ripon. I want something a little bit more behind him, but yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what we do there. But the fact that we just sit here and did all those moves and we have pushed the money down a little bit, and right now, you can kind of feel like after we do find the deals based on what we've learned from these other ones we've made, that you feel like that we're going to probably kick some of the salary cap on those other guys down too. And we could be sitting here with still half our salary cap moving forward here, which makes you think, obviously you got to do things like, well, one thing, go extend Andrew Van Ginkel. That's one thing. I want you to go extend Andrew Van Ginkel. So go do that. And then obviously Harrison Smith, we got to go figure out something with him. I know it feels like if there's 1 year for Harrison Smith to retire, it's not this one at this point.
And you do wonder if maybe he was waiting to see how this free agency played out.
Hey, Smokey in the building. What up, dude?
But like, and maybe it was the thing where Harrison Smith was just wanting to see how this offseason played out and see if we made moves that aligned with trying to win now. So I think with all the moves that are made, I do think there is a better chance. I was feeling like 90% Harrison Smith retired. Now I'm moving back to more like 65% he comes back. I still think there's a good chance he decides to just hang him up, but I'm feeling like 90% he comes better about the prospects of him coming back now. So you think
I'm feeling like 90%. I'm feeling confident. I don't know. like if you don't say anything right away, like a lot of guys, I mean, some people mull it like he's mulling it over. So that just makes you feel like he doesn't know for sure. And now you make the like why would you leave right when it's like this is probably your best chance to win a championship? It wouldn't make any sense. So I would be very surprised at this point if he doesn't come back. He has to go one, even he has to push everything he's got left in his body to come at least one more year. And honestly, we'll see how he plays. He definitely bounced back last year than he did a season before that. Obviously getting older, things like that. But man, if I'm Hitman, I'm like, I do not want to leave in these next 3 years. It's just really odd. If I'm Kwesi, I'm telling everybody that these next 3 years are going to be the years we're going all in on. You just have to, because otherwise you have to pay JJ, assuming we want to pay JJ, because that means that he played well. You kind of got to go all in here. And on top of that, like if you look at just the NFL in general at this point, you got the Lions, obviously they're going to be healthier. They went and got Reed. They're a competition out here to be the best overall team in the league. The Eagles, who just came off of the Super Bowl, who had the best team in the league, they're still up there, but they've lost a lot of players. And then obviously you got the Chiefs, you got the Bills, and those kind of players who don't have as much money, who's not going to be as well-rounded because they do have a lot of money into their quarterbacks and things like that. So like the Vikings really were on the cusp of being the best overall team in the NFL as soon as this year. But a lot does come down to JJ McCarthy and just how he plays and things like that, which is a lot for a young guy or for a young quarterback. But I don't know, man. It's just we'll see what he can do, and he's in the best situation probably that I think people are talking about it. Like he might be in the best situation that a first year quarterback has ever been in, ever. Like you're set up, and we're not even through the draft yet. So if we go grab like another running back or something like that, we're sitting pretty there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So overall, again, slow start to free agency. I get that. People were a little bit frustrated, but we preached patience yesterday, and patience really paid off. And now we're looking at this team with the draft still to come and second, third waves of free agency still to come. And I'm feeling very confident. I'm excited about this free agency. Everything that we could have asked for, we did. We went out and got all these positions of need to the point where now you go into the draft, best player available. I mean, and honestly, like, look, we had Isaiah Rodgers. We talked about Ryan Kelly, but this really did all start. And I do feel like this was the biggest domino because after the deal was over, Alec Lewis said it took a lot of work to get there, but it was one of their main priorities. And that was bringing back CB1 for this football team, Byron Murphy Jr. Obviously 3 years, $66 million. Do you have the breakdown of the contract by chance?
No.
Was it 50? Was it like 51?
It went down to 54. It went down to 54.
Was actually the money in the contract, and the rest of it was all incentive based, right?
Yeah, incentives. So it comes out because that's all right. So I mean, we're on Byron Murphy now. So that was the thing, is like this is where I'm at with Byron Murphy. I wasn't impressed by Byron Murphy at all in the first half of the year. I would not pay him $16 million a year, whatever we talked about at that time. He proved me wrong the second half of the year, and he did become, in my eyes, the best cornerback on this team. So but for me, that was a lot to go and pay a cornerback $22 million a year that you're like hoping that he really legit broke out that second half, which at this point you're definitely hoping for. So $22 million a year seems like a lot, but after the incentives and actual cap hit, it came down to, it's 3 years, right? Yeah, 3 years, 54 million, which rounds out to about $18 million a year, which feels a lot better. It's $4 million, feels a lot better than 22, makes me a lot happier with that contract. And as far as this year goes, it only hits 7 million against our cap this year. And then on top of that, I think it was about 34 million in guarantees. So about half of it in guarantees, maybe a little bit more than half if we're talking about that 54, which is definitely definitely a really solid. I mean, I think I text you, and Cam Bynum got 32 in guaranteed for his 4-year extra year, but 32 for his contract. You get Murphy. So it just, the contract ends up looking actually like a very solid deal for the Vikings for someone that came off that many interceptions.
Right. And that's the thing. Obviously, the big numbers are exciting, right? Because that's what everyone loves to see, the years and the money. But it really does come down to guarantees and structure. And that's just like with the Aaron Jones contract, right? Like 2 years, what was it? 2 years, $20 million. People look at that. They're like, for a going to be 31-year-old running back, that seems a little bit rich. But then you look at the contract breakdown, he counts like what, $4 million against the cap this year. And then next year he would count $12 million. But if you cut him, you save $10 million. So like, and I get it. I think I was watching Purple for the Win earlier, and he said when it comes to like the baseline contracts, all about the agents being able to hype up how much they negotiated. The teams love to talk about the annual every year, or the annual average value, just to make yourself the highest paid, whatever, based off of that. But none of that really matters when it comes down to the NFL, the cap space, and how you're building your football team. The years and the overall money doesn't really matter. It's all about those guarantees and dead cap hits if you decide to cut a player after a certain amount of years, and then void years added on to the end of it. Like, that's really what it all comes down to. So you see the deals initially, you worry, but then when you really look at them after all the final numbers come out, and you feel pretty damn good about what this team was able to do with their first time having a lot of money. And moves still aren't done yet because there's still money left to be spent. And it's excellent by Kwesi to play your cards close to your vest, to not overspend on those top tier guys who honestly are probably getting overpaid, and then B, to have a guy like Rob Brzezinski who can help you make sure all the money works. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just patience. Really, all it took was patience to get to this point. And that's how we were trying to preach that yesterday when we were on here. Just let it all ride out. Let's get through the night. We all know Kwesi loves to make those late night moves. We had a couple early morning moves today, but I don't know. I'm happy we waited before we started crucifying the guy and really calling for him to be fired. He made everybody happy today.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's interesting to see how everything moves forward here. If there's going to be like, obviously, like, see what happens when time or when everything like comes down a little bit. But as far as today, I haven't saw anybody say what Kwesi did wasn't good. Obviously, you're going to get some people who are like, oh, they're old and things like that. But you're talking about players that you wouldn't even expect it to have. Like, you only have so many options in the NFL. Like, you have to take what's available to you. Like, you can't just be worried about penny pinching and getting the best values possible every single offseason, because it just doesn't work that way. There's not always going to be the right player every single time that fills every position that you need. And sometimes you got to, I don't know, pay a little extra for a guy that's a little older or whatever. But you just got to respect that what Kwesi has done, as far as like, he's just not messing around. He's not sitting around. Something, and I don't know if Steve's in here, something I'm seeing a lot from Packer Twitter today is just that the Packers, they just don't go all in and they don't take their chances. Something that we've kind of felt as Viking fans for a while, up until I would probably say last draft, when we got the first quarterback in the top 10 in Vikings history, and then even moved up for Dallas Turner. We'll see how all that works out. But at least with Kwesi, you're like, he knows what he wanted, and he was making sure he got it. Even what he did with getting the second first round pick last offseason. At this point now, you're like, did he need to do that? Did he pay for that second first round pick? Maybe. But he was like giving himself enough ammo, so if he needed to move up to go grab his quarterback of the future, they could. And you got to respect that. Like, he was going to make it happen no matter what. And seeing him with money now, like, there's one thing for sure in this free agency, like, he isn't messing around. We've spent the most money out of any team so far, and he's definitely made sure to go get guys that are going to make this team better. So that's a super exciting thing.
Yeah, and again, and again, you go into the draft, and it is wide open. You can go best player available. You can trade back because you have options.
Saw that,
and you have quality options at every single position that we are looking at coming into this draft. And obviously, it's still a deep draft at a lot of positions we still need more talent at. But yeah, I mean, it makes you feel like, it just makes you feel better going into the draft, that you don't need to stress out about, oh God, what if we can't get a guy that's going to help us year one? You don't need a guy like that anymore. I mean, sure, it's going to help, right? I mean, if you can get a Kenneth Grant who can help you year one, you're going to take that. If you can get a Ashton Genty or Mario Hampton who can help you year one, you're going to take that. But now you don't need those options. So you can literally do whatever you want with that first pick, whether it be grab a guy or trade back.
Yeah. And honestly, we'll have to sit around a little bit longer to figure out, because it changes the dynamic in the draft a bit. Like sitting here right now, if I was going to tell you, because we were dead set on getting a defensive tackle. Obviously, you got some aging guys, but at the same time, I like LDR, I like Tamani, I like Redmond, and I'm like, with these other guys, like the older guys that we have, like that gives them time to develop. It doesn't feel like there's a chance that between them three, Redmond, Tamani, LDR, Bo Richter, and Gabriel Murphy, like there's a good chance that like one or two of those guys ends up being like legit gems and turning into potential starters on this defense. So you do have those guys already that you can think of. You don't have to worry about that happening next year now. So that's what's going to be interesting, is us sitting here and figuring out, okay, like which direction do we want to go at this point. Maybe you are leaning a little bit more cornerback, because it is kind of like our cornerback room doesn't really look too much different than last year, actually, at all. You still, you don't have Shaq Griffin or Gilmore, and you just got, what's his name now? Rodgers now, Isaiah Rodgers. So that would be one spot where now, like cornerback, I feel like becomes a little bit more important in this draft for sure. But running back still 100%. I do feel better now. If we picked a running back in the first round, it wouldn't seem as dumb as it did prior to free agency to me.
And honestly, at this point too, I think he'll still be available once you get into that third tier, maybe even closer to OTA's training camp stuff. I would not mind bringing back Shaq Griffin on literally a deal that if you had to, you could just cut him before the season starts if you have other options that you like there. So
we're gonna get comp pick for Daniels.
Well, he counts. I assume Daniel Jones. He's gonna count towards the formula next year. At this point, I think with the signings we have made, we're probably only looking at Sam Darnold that might potentially end up getting us something. Because I do think these other the guys that have left plus the ones we brought, I do think eventually it is going to probably end up canceling out, but we'll see.
This is probably the biggest one, though. I think at this point, if you're going to ask me, I've never been more certain or more ready to trade back at this point of the offseason than right now.
I mean,
it makes even more sense.
Unless a guy is there that they have like
out there,
top of their board at a position they want, and they say, if this guy is there, there is 0% chance we can trade back because we think he's going to be that good that we have to take him. Unless that scenario arises, then yes, I think trading back is the best option. Just because you are so limited on draft capital.
What up, Mark?
I think it'd be great. Hey, what's going on, man? That's kind of my 2 cents as it comes to what we do in the draft. I mean, if there's a guy you need to get, you take him. But
yeah, if there's like Grant, for instance, might be that type of guy. If he's there and he's all potential, like he's a guy that has potential to be elite pass rusher and run blocker.
Which is coming. I mean, these other two don't do that well. Like Jonathan Allen, at least his last year, and then Hargrave, not like they're more pass rush guys, not as much run stoppers.
Which does, I did put this on Twitter too, is like it does make you a little bit more excited about Tamani, who has been good in run blocking ever since preseason, his little playing time he's had through this last season. And it kind of makes you feel like, well, now you got some studs around you. Like maybe we do see, depending on what we do in the draft, like he's the biggest guy on our team by far at this point. Like he's like the one legit nose tackle we have, and he looked really solid. I mean, really preseason was insane, honestly. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just see a lot of him playing nose tackle, switching out with Harrison Phillips, and then you got the two pass rushers on the side of him, or you might see Harrison Phillips go to the edge. You might see a rotation there, but I'm kind of seeing a lot of Tamani right now because we don't really have that run stuffing specialist outside of him. But you do get that from Kenneth Grant and more. So if Kenneth Grant's there, he might still be too hard to pass up. And that the fact that you do have what you have now at the defensive line, it doesn't seem as big of a risk as it might have beforehand. But yeah, if Hampton is there at 24, it's still tough, man. There's so many. I like Hampton a lot, but if this running back class wasn't as deep as it was, I would be like, no question, get Hampton if he's there probably at this point. But because it is so deep, I'm just feeling like I'm like, do we like I like Hampton a lot, but if you want a guy like him, like, do you go a Caleb Johnson, or do you? I'm starting to like Judkins like more and more, and it's like those type of bigger running backs that can kind of do everything that you want. Like, are you like, is it worth going Hampton that early when you have guys there that you can get? If you trade back, you can get him in the second round, or maybe even sneaks in the third round, because there's so many running backs out there. Like, I don't expect, because like, you just assume that because there's so many running backs out there, and not all these teams need running backs, that you're going to be getting really good value on some running backs in the second round, in the third round, in the fourth round, in the fifth round. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a third round running back in the fifth round type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it should be interesting to see how kind of that plays out. But that'd be the hard thing with Hampton. But if the Vikings did pull the trigger, I mean, yeah, if you want a guy that's going to work with,
like, because before free agency, I'd have been like, yeah, no, I'm not in on Hampton at 24. But now, like, if they did pull the trigger on Hampton at 24, would you be upset about it? I guess it's kind of like the way to think about that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be upset at it at the point. At this point, Harrison Phillips, I mean, Harrison Phillips plays good in the run game, but I guess, I mean, like an actual legit because how big is Harrison?
He's not a nose tackle, no. And
exactly. Like a prototypical big middle run.
Yeah, I think they were trying to play him at nose, and that just wasn't his natural.
And that's probably
enough size.
That's what we're going to do next year, probably. And that's the reason why, if we stayed the same at defensive line, it makes a lot of sense to see more playing time out of Tamani, because he is that big dude that you can kind of put in the middle that takes more than one guy to block him, probably, right? But Harrison Phillips definitely can do that for sure. Hey, Aaron's back. What up, Aaron? Nothing like getting off from work and seeing we fix. Yeah. Crazy, dude. Crazy. Anyways, let's keep on rolling here. Spent a lot of time, again, everybody, giving away cards. Your choice. A lot of rookie cards here. JJ McCarthy, all that good stuff. Get the hashtag Skols in the comments, like the video, and subscribe. I mean, obviously, a lot of these guys, we've kind of jumped all over the place talking about them, but I'm assuming that you're kind of looking up what Jonathan Allen has gotten. I know it came out 3 years, 20 million. And then ends up coming down. I'll let you say it if you have.
Yeah, so it says it's the base value, 51 million over 3 years, cash flow 16.2, 16.9, and 17.8 the first over the next 3 years. Sack incentives and escalators get the value to the max of $60 million. So where it looks like a 3-year, $60 million contract, it actually ends up being a 3-year, $51 million contract with a heavily incentive-laden contract. And I believe, like listening, because Purple for the Win's pretty smart about all the cap stuff. He says basically it's a 1-year deal based off the guarantees with 2 team options where it's relatively team friendly to let him walk either of the next 2 years if it doesn't quite work out the way that you want it to. So 3-year deal, yes, not quite 60, 51 million plus incentives plus easy outs over the next 2 seasons if they do decide that that's the direction that they want to go in. But we ain't looking at that right now. We're looking at the effects he's going to have on this team. And yeah, it's a great signing, man. It's a great signing. I love it.
And obviously, I mean, the thing that's scary about him is he's definitely came down a bit. His last season and a half before his injury and things like that weren't great. Like you said, he comes back after that injury against the Lions and has a really good game there. So it's one of those things, like, and he's been one of the best pass rushing. There's a few years, like the year before, not last year, not the year before, but the year before that, he had like a 3-year stretch where he was arguably the best defensive interior in pass rush. So you are hoping you're getting a little bit of that. But for the Vikings defensive line, we had zero. We had nobody that could make an effect other than Redmond, who we got from, what is it? Was it the UFL or whatever? The Rocks League, I think, right?
Which is, I think that's the USFL or whatever.
The USFL, whatever it is. Anyways, which we do like him. I like Redmond as a prospect. It'll be interesting to see how well he does this year. But he was like the most effective in the pass rush when he was actually out there. XFL, that's what it is.
Well, it used to be. It changed now. after they
Oh,
merged
did
with
it?
the USFL. I think it's the
I think
UFL
it's
now.
the UFL now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they merged with the USFL and made the UF. I don't know. It's a whole thing that
Yeah.
nobody
Either way,
actually
either
cares about.
way.
But
So you're
yeah,
just bringing a guy in here who obviously has been one of the best pass rushers. As same, I mean, I guess we'll get into him later, but yeah, man. I mean, this is a guy that a lot of Viking fans wanted throughout yesterday. In the morning yesterday, we knew that he was flying in or he was coming to have a visit. So I felt like he was a guy that we felt pretty confident that we would end up getting. Um, but we've seen it before where a guy comes and leaves and goes somewhere else. So it was nice to see him come in and we got him. A guy that, again, like I said, I wasn't expecting to go into free agency and get any sort of defensive lineman because there wasn't a ton other than Milton Williams being kind of the prize there. But until some of these guys had to get cut, like Jonathan Allen, like Javon Hargrave, and we've went out to get both of them. Like that is huge plus on this defensive line for sure.
yeah. And Aaron, no, we haven't got him yet. He's still since he is the 49ers still haven't cut him yet. They are waiting till tomorrow. And once they do, then he's free to sign. It does sound like the contract is basically already done and it's already agreed upon. So as soon as he gets cut, he will end up signing here. So that's, again, just a big get. I mean, again, older guys, but two guys that when they're healthy and when they're ready to go, amazing pass rushers in that interior.
I mean,
something
two of the
we've
best,
been missing.
two of
And
the
we
best
just have to make sure we get
recently.
back to it.
Yeah, they're two of the best to do it. To be two of the best pass rushing defensive interior linemen of the last like 5-10 years type of thing. So it's nice to get them older or whatever, but it kind of fits our window on that JJ McCarthy rookie contract. So really nice by them. Obviously, we already talked about him yesterday because we knew he was visiting, but this is the big one here because this is the one that I was like, man, this kind of feels like maybe wishful thinking, getting Byron Murphy, Jonathan Allen, Will Fry, or Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. I know everybody was asking for it. I know Thor was on. I saw that thing. Thor was on One Bar and Lupicus, and they asked him like, which one of those would he get? He said all three.
And they did.
I was like, ooh, that's going to be tough. I was like, maybe Jenkins or Becton or something like that. But I knew everybody, and you texted me right away, and I didn't even know that move even happened. I saw your text, and you said, I think you told me Will Fries, and then you're like, and Hargrave, and I was like, what is going on here? And then, yeah, I looked into it, and it was just crazy. But, yeah, you lock up Will Fries 5 years, obviously coming off an injury, had arguably I think he was up there with the highest guard grades up until that injury happened. And you go get a guy. I mean, you can only imagine. It's not very hard, but a guy that should be an easy upgrade, if not extremely significant upgrade to what we had last year at that position in Will Fries. I'll let you jump into the contract and all that good stuff. But
I mean, there's really not a ton of details out there. Just 5 years.
Just like the
5 years, $88 million. I guess there is a report out there that the Seahawks had a 3-year, $50 million contract on the table for him to go block for old Sammy over there, and he obviously picked coming here.
I saw Colts for 3 and 55, I think, or I thought I saw Colts for 3 and 50.
I see Seahawks at 3-year, $50 million deal.
I might have been maybe I
either way, there's a bunch of other teams interested. A lot of teams thought. I guess the Giants were pretty heavy favorites as well. But maybe bringing Kelly in here, maybe that did have a little bit something to do with it. Maybe he was able to sway him to make the decision and come back here. But yeah, I mean, overall, 5 years, $88 million. I did mention that he is one of like 4 or 5 players that's under contract through JJ McCarthy's rookie deal. So obviously they're planning for now, while also planning for not having these guys under contract in the future, just in case they do make some changes, but they can always bring them back. But yeah, 5 years, $88 million to me feels like a pretty solid deal for who was considered the top guard in free agency. What's that, like $16.5 million per season? And I'm guessing, just like all these other contracts that we've seen out here that the Vikings have signed, with Rob Brzezinski leading the way and figuring that out, I'm guessing the 5 years, $88 million is going to look a little bit different when we see the structure of how that deal was laid out. So I don't know, man. I love that signing. It was one of those things we needed, as you and I said, we needed to get a veteran guard. Ryan Kelly had we signed Kelly after, it was kind of the cherry on top, but signing Kelly immediately yesterday being the first offensive lineman just got me thinking, man, if we can just get a right guard, because I said it all along here, I'm fine once Darrisaw's back. Obviously, Darrisaw at left tackle and O'Neal at right tackle, I was fine with. But as it comes to the interior, I was fine with sticking with because Brandel had one season that transition from guard tackle to guard. He played well the first half, struggled the second half.
With Christian Darrisaw, by the way.
What's that?
He had Christian Darrisaw in that first half.
Yeah. And so I was perfectly fine with letting him have another run at left tackle, but getting better options at center and right guard, or having him start at left guard and having better options at center and right guard. And that's exactly what we've done in the first 2 days of the tampering period here. So, look, if you're telling me if we make no more moves along the offensive line, and you're telling me it's going to be Christian Darrisaw, Blake Brandel, Kelly, Will Fry, as well as Brian O'Neal, I am 100% happy with that offensive line. Obviously, depth. You have Walter Rouse, a guy they like. You have Juergens, a guy that they like. There's guys in the draft they could go after. But if you're telling me those 5 are going to be your starting offensive line for J.J. McCarthy, I'm 100% fine with that. You got to have depth because of the injury history of Ryan Kelly. And, of course, Fry is coming off that tibia fracture. So you do got to have depth. But those starting 5, man, like you finally feel like this team's going to have a bully of an offensive line. And J.J. McCarthy is going to be stepping into a really, really good situation up in front of him as a pass blocker.
No way, Steve. Yeah, dude. It's just what a killer signing. What a killer signing. I just like the fact, again, him and bringing in him and Ryan Kelly was a situation that I just didn't expect. I did see... Who was it? Aaron. I wish we had enough for another guard, and we definitely did.
We do, yeah.
We definitely do.
Because Brandon Sheriff, did he play left guard for a lot of his career? Or what?
I don't know.
Hell, bring back Ezra Cleveland at left guard for all I care. Come on now.
People go from tackle to guards all the time. Like, you can go right guard to left guard. I don't know if you want to do that with Fries. Like, if you have and that's another thing too, is like, that's another thing with Brando. I do think I don't know what's going to happen to Garrett Bradbury. And I know a lot of people are just like, oh, like cut him, or people are talking about trading him. I'm sure maybe we could get something for him. I don't know. I know there's some like cap stuff with that.
That's what Adam Schefter said.
It wouldn't be the worst. If you have to keep him, it's not the worst thing in the world to have him go to guard and at least compete. If we're end up in the worst case scenario, you have Brandel, you have Bradbury, you have Ingram, and having them 3. Ingram's a tough one to say, but having them fight it out for the guard spot. Because regardless, if you have to have Bradbury, I'd rather see, or Brandel there, I'd rather see Bradbury fight for that guard spot, and then just whoever's the best gets it, I guess. But we do have money to go and get another guard, so I would like to see that. I know Zeitler, he's generally a right guard as well, isn't he?
I think so. But either way, there's veteran options. If they want to at least have competition at left guard for Blake Brandel, those options are going to be out there, and you're going to be able to find somebody to at least bring in here for that reason. And if nothing else, they're here for depth. So I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
No, obviously huge deal for us. Man, and like I said earlier, you sent me, I seen both of these at the same time, which like blew my mind. Well, but even seeing Will Fries, I wasn't confident we were going to get Will Fries. I was like, this is a situation the Viking fans are going to be disappointed in.
But again, the fact that it took so long for him to get signed, I had a feeling, like I said, I truly had a feling that all these contracts.
You did text it. You did say it.
Because it's just like, why else would these guys like Murphy and Will Fries, top guys at their positions, why would they wait so long? Like, that's part of the thing. I think they always want to see how some of these contracts are going to be structured. So look, had this all stopped right here at Isaiah Rodgers, Ryan Kelly, bringing back Byron Murphy, getting Jonathan Allen and bringing in Will Fries, I'd have been happy. But then you see the Pelissero tweet where he said the Vikings aren't done at a defensive interior yet. Then he brings up Javon Hargraves, right? So I think this is a guy actually that before he had gone into free agency 2 years ago, I think you and I were looking at their list of free agents, and he was a guy that you and I had pointed out saying, man, if the Vikings could find a way, we would take that. Obviously signs a 3-year deal with the 49ers, coming off an 11-sack season in Philadelphia. I believe he had 7 sacks his first season in San Francisco. Then last year had the injury issues. I still think had 1 sack there. Right. But look, 32 years old. I get it, coming off a soft tissue injury, but I would have been fine with just Jonathan Allen, knowing how deep this draft was at defensive tackle. But when you see the Javon Hargrave and you can't think it's going to be too hefty of a contract, like it's just,
I'm guessing around
just,
15 million a year.
He was icing on the cake. He was the cherry on top, icing on the cake of this entire free agency thing. Like, had we just stopped at Will Fries, I'd have been like, good, we're done. Let's get to the draft. I'm happy with how this looks. This was just an extra bonus signing or a report of signing that you're just sitting here like, so you're telling me we're going from 0 defensive interior guys who have spent their career rushing the passer to 2 of them?
Yeah.
Like,
and have been some of the best at their position.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, older, but still, like I was even thinking like, well, if we somehow missed on Jonathan Allen, I was kind of looking at Hargrave like, oh, maybe we could go get him or whatever.
Both?
But I was not expecting both. And like you said, like that blew my mind. Like even Will Fries, like I wasn't convinced we would get him. Like the fact that we got Will Fries, I was like, this is already with Will Fries. And even though we signed him earlier than any of these guys, Ryan Kelly, like he feels like a cherry on top. Like going into this draft or going to free agency, if you told me, all right, you make sure you have Byron Murphy, you get Jonathan Allen, you get Will Fries, you even get Rodgers, I'd be like, okay, like this is pretty solid. Like I'm cool here. I'm content here. But then you add Ryan Kelly to that and you add Javon Hargrave. Now you're like, dang, we're doing stuff I didn't even know was Hargrave was like, I didn't even know this is possible. The fact that we're sitting here and we might have almost half of our salary cap left seems absolutely insane for what we've done so far. Literally have spent the most money out of any other team and we might have half our salary cap. It's insane. I think we're just used to having barely any salary cap going into every single offseason. And Kwesi, even then, has still been able to figure, I mean, like last offseason, I mean, there's not even a question. I mean, you could argue that Kwesi has had the best last offseason might have been the greatest free agency in NFL history as far as value for what you've gotten, including with Sam Darnold and what he's gotten now.
And that's exactly something that's been talked about all day long. Like, look, love Sam Darnold, love what he did this last season, taking the season after McCarthy got injured to a thing where we thought we were going to win like 6 games to 14 wins, having a chance at the 1 seed going into week 17, all that type of stuff. But if we bring Sam Darnold back on a contract like the Seahawks got him for, we don't get to do basically anything that we did these last 2 days. So Sam, I love you. I appreciate you. But this is what you can do.
Oh, my bad.
When you have when you have when you have your future franchise quarterback on a rookie contract, you can go start spending all this money.
Yeah. We're going to wrap this up. Anybody in here, you guys should we're going to do our giveaway real quick. Definitely go check Vocal Vike after this. Go over there and subscribe. Check his channel. My guy is definitely an entertaining one and cool as fuck. So definitely go do that. Anyways, everybody in here, get them hashtag Skols in the comments. We're about to give away a card, all that good stuff. Your choice.
One more thing. F Daniel Jones for $14 million. I know we need a backup quarterback, but $14 million was not anywhere near where I was trying to go with Daniel Jones. I don't think we talked about Daniel Jones going to the Colts yet, going to the Colts yet here, but that is one thing I am very happy that we didn't do. Like, I get it. It would have been cool to have him here just in case, but $14 million, no.
100%. Yeah, that was too much. That's why I'm like, I don't know. Go get as cheap as you can get. Obviously, it'll suck if it'll suck if JJ McCarthy got hurt or something like that, especially with our roster right now. It'd be nice to have someone like getting a Mac Jones or something like that would be solid, I think. But yeah, I'm going to start pulling. Actually, you know what? We're going to no, I'll do a duck race. I'm going to pull these ones quick. We got to get out of here. Rap hooked us up last night and made sure he was off by the time our stream started. So you got to make sure we hook it up for my guy over there. Gary, I think Gary's gone. Noah, I'm just going to pick 5 names, whether you're here or not. This was a surprise one anyways. I'm going to keep rolling here. So I don't care if you're here or not. We're going to run it. At this point, I feel like I have everybody's information anyways. So it's the top 5 makes it to this next round. It don't matter if you're here or not. Boom. Adam. Keep on rolling. So we got Adam and Gary so far. That's crazy. Gary made it yesterday too. Hey, Riley. Let's go. I'll put nap time. All right, keep it on rolling. Keep it on rolling. Speaking of that, speaking of Riley, because he has a young child, I think about a year old now, I believe. Speaking of that, so next Monday we'll be on here for sure as usual. I'm assuming after that, the following my kid is due midweek next week, probably. So things are going to probably be weird for a couple weeks after that. Just giving you guys an early heads up. Probably talk more about that going into next week. But Dylan, yeah, exciting. Getting a little nervous here. Things are about to be different for sure. And we got Jen. Let's go. Hey, appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, let me jump over here. All right, 45 seconds on the clock. We got all the names here. Gary, Adam, Riley with nap time, Dylan Dotson, and Jen setting this. Going for 9 for the future, or not, can't even call him future. The franchise quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Oh, that one's kind of lame. There we go. We got all crazy stuff in here. Boom, let's get it. "38 seconds. We got nap time in the early lead as the Mermaid. Adam in first place now. We got in here 23 seconds, 22, 20. Sorry, Mike. I think you just missed it. 16, 15. Nap time's holding the lead here. Holding the lead. We're getting Adam bouncing off. It's feeling like Adam at this point. I think it is. 3, 2, 1. It goes to Adam. Obviously, I don't know if Adam's in here. I'll definitely hit him up, even though he's still technically a 49ers fan.
We actually,
I feel like we're like...
We actually ended up with Trump Duck this time, huh? We haven't had that one yet.
Haven't had that one yet?
Donald Duck made it to the running.
John is a Trump. But anyways, guys, I'll reach out to Adam, get that figured out. But I appreciate you all jumping in here. Things are getting really exciting. I think, man, if we're at the point now where if JJ McCarthy is a quarterback we want him to be and we think he can be, you're feeling like this could be a golden era for the Minnesota Vikings, man. So obviously something exciting, super exciting to...
Right. And all led by general manager Kwesi Dopamensha, who should be extended, by the way. Get that done.
Yes.
The draft is going to be good. He's got JJ McCarthy, Dallas Turner. It's all going well. But thank you guys so much for joining. As we mentioned, please go hop over to Vocal Vike, who is live right now. Go check him out. Tell him that we sent you. And we'll see you guys next Monday, right here, GG Sports Podcast. Thank you so much.